Hello, this video is mainly directed to Payday Monsanto. Just to cut to the chase, super quick, if you're watching this Payday, I want to say I'll get more in depth into other topics and nuances in a second, but just to cut to the chase is this music that I've been uploading of yours recently, that's been directed to me by Alyssa Monsanto, whose channel is dedicated to archiving, transcribing, and preserving the music of Payday Monsanto. We've been in contact. She found my channel because I uploaded this clip here, because I discovered your music, because you were talking about what's happening in Gaza. You referred to the Gaza Strip as a concentration camp, and that was in 2013, I believe, or at least 2016. It was 2016 in the title, and then Alyssa Monsanto found this video and corrected me, and ever since then we've been in contact, and then she's been sending me your music, which I had been... So she'd been emailing me your music, which I would then screen record directly from my phone, from the email. So one of the main updates that I just want to say quickly, Payday, if you have seen my channel, which I believe you have, because this was the trigger for me making this video right now, is seeing your recent subscription to my YouTube channel. I just want to say, if you have seen any of your music that I've uploaded on my channel, if you're okay with that, I do want to get into deeper contact with you, Payday, if you are willing to email me back. I don't know if you've seen my email. I'll go over it in a second. I did in a previous video yesterday, but I'll leave all that for later in the video. But basically what I'm saying is I discovered that my screen recording of your music is lower quality than the original file itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update everything as quick as I can. And I did already say this yesterday. If you've seen this video, I've just tagged you in it now. But I just gave a quick update, and that was the beginning of this video did state what I've just stated here, is that I didn't realize at the time. See, I'm dedicated to bringing the highest quality. I do not want to upload any of your music, Payday, if it's not the highest quality, as other channels have done, such as Thought Criminal Music. They've uploaded Just Off the Coast by you, Payday, and it's clearly lower quality than the original file on your main channel. So that's what I did. I checked and I realized that the screen recording version is lower audio quality than the original audio file that was emailed to me by Alyssa Monsanto. So I just wanted to say that quickly, is that I am very passionate about helping a lot of these artists, and it is definitely a part of my life purpose. So I'm just saying, if you have seen your music on my channel, I will be updating it and creating a cleaner look. I don't know if you potentially want to collab, in a sense of if you want to connect, if you want any details of how I'll upload them, or maybe you don't want me to upload your music at all, that's fine. Me and Alyssa Monsanto are emailing back and forth a lot these days, and potentially we're going to be collaborating, making a kind of, not a brand, but we're going to be making a YouTube channel together, potentially, where, because she doesn't know how to upload actual videos, and I do, and she is the one who's sending me loads of your music, Payday Monsanto. And by the way, I can't find the music that Alyssa's sending me anywhere else. I know that you're, like, struggling with money, partly, partly likely because you're a targeted individual, or so you think. I really want to dig deeper as well. I'd love to get you on a podcast, that's for sure. Because I'm very open-minded to what's happening with you. There's a very interesting phenomenon that I've noticed within myself and with other people, where it's like, it's just, there's a very fine line between intelligence and esoteric knowledge and conspiracies and just mental illness. I'm not saying that is the case with you, but like with me personally, well, not me personally, it's just like in general, people who seem crazy are only deemed crazy by this corrupt culture. And if you were in like some indigenous tribe, they would potentially see your ways as a gift. But this culture likes to tell you that you're sick, but other cultures likely will tell you the opposite, that you're gifted. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, in terms of like what's happening with you, especially recently, where you're talking about the sensory deprivation operation and you've got the filter on your camera, I'm very open-minded. I've looked at a lot of it, and I've started to do a lot more research as well. That's one thing I really do like about you, Payday, is that you're a lot more solid and grounded in terms of you will actually name individual people, organizations, and patents of like the actual, you can actually find, like, your research, you're actually bringing it forward in terms of you're much more in the crowd of being some form of a whistleblower that's actually involved directly, like your 9/11 truth songs, how you literally are like naming people and like blowing the lid off the whole thing. But a lot of these other so-called conscious artists are a lot more vague. They don't go into the actual details of the actual organizations and the actual names of people who are behind all of this. So yeah, I don't know if you would potentially want to hop on a call with me. I would love to hop on a call with you. One, because it would be easier to distill the information that I would like to tell you directly to you over the phone instead of emailing you. I have already gone over this email in a previous video, which is this one here. It's a 13-minute video of a general holistic update. I'm talking a bit calmer, not so fast-paced. But yeah, I go over the email I sent you, which I might go over again in a second. But I left a comment on Payday Monsanto's channel saying I really love the new style of music. It sounds like you're literally melting in some of your new tunes. It's like so over the top, and I'd already loved the complexity sort of music. I don't know what to call it, but I love that all of your music is engineered by you from the ground up. Like, you've been producing this stuff. Like you say, your first album was like 15 years in the making, I think it was titled. But yeah, I love your dedication and somewhat sacrifice of being a whistleblower for the greater good of humanity and the population, where like you're seeking truth at your own, how do I say it? Like, that's how I feel like I'm in the same boat in terms of, like, if and when I do discover through research, like, I'm not gonna, like, hold back because I'm scared that, like, it will get me in trouble, potentially. I don't know, because then you can become, like, a targeted individual like yourself, supposedly, or so you think. But yeah, I like how, yeah, you don't hold back. It's like you speak all secrets, and I've always felt like that within me to an extent. But yeah, so I commented on his YouTube saying I really like the new style of your music. It's directly down my lane. I co-host the Conscious Rapper community, which you can find on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Instagram, which is also run by Michael DeSalza, which is another conscious artist. And then there's a whole web of conscious artists behind that page that are all interconnected with Mr. Traumatic, etc. And I did send Payday Monsanto Mr. Traumatic's music in this email, which I'll explain now. Basically, with Payday Monsanto being concerned with this quote-unquote potential conspiracy of a sensory deprivation operation, which I do intuitively feel to be the case. Maybe I don't agree with every single nuance or with that Payday Monsanto says, but maybe I'm not as educated as Payday Monsanto, so I'm still very open-minded and open to learning. I haven't really solidly made up my mind on what I think of everything that's happening with Payday. There is a Reddit post about you, Payday, which I'll show you in a second, where people basically, long story short, it says, someone was saying you used to make good music, like, and you seem to have intellectual integrity, and but But then people reckon that you've gone off the deep end by spiraling down this, like, it almost does seem like you've lost the plot, right? But that's how it seemed with myself, because I had like radical enlightenment and awakening experiences into the nature of reality, also insights about the nature of culture and history, etc. as well. There's an important distinction I find, like the relative plane versus the absolute plane. The relative plane would be me versus, like, I'm here and the world is out there, and the government poisoning people. And the more absolute plane, I find, would be found potentially within deep meditation. I'm sure you can intuit, Monsanto, what I'm speaking about is that there's duality, which is me versus you, left versus right, up versus down, black versus white, evil versus good. And then there's non-duality, which you can find through deep psychedelic states or meditation, where, like, you literally collapse the whole dream of reality. I'm not trying to push any beliefs on you. I won't talk about this too extensively, but I would call the absolute, like, for example, when you go to sleep at night, potentially you have dreams, right? You can have a dream when you're asleep. You can dream that the government have just revealed that they're reptilians, and then the revolution happens, and then the new Earth revolution finally takes place. But then you wake up and you're just in your bed. That's what I mean. Is that, yes, in this realm that we're in now, it is true that the government did mandate poisonous vaccines. That is true. Everyone knows that. Even the government websites have admitted it themselves to an extent. But the information is out there now, and Payday's been saying this before it even happened, and that's like... Payday is the best example of I told you so. But what I'm speaking to wrap up this point about the relative versus the absolute plane is, to an extent, how do we not know that we're not dreaming now? If we can go to sleep and we can have a dream about anything, like someone robs from a shop, you get in drama, or there's a fight, or you're on a roller coaster in your dream, or someone kills themselves, like, but then you just wake up and you realize that that was just a dream and you're just in your bedroom. That's what I'm talking about. I didn't mean to talk about this too extensively. I don't even remember how I got to this topic exactly. I'm kind of sporadic and schizophrenic. Or I can be at times. But that's what I'm saying, is like, yes, the government is doing this to us on Earth, and you are correct. But at the same time, what actually is consciousness? And, like, how do we not know that we're not dreaming? So I would define that as the absolute, which is like radical meditative states, and then the relative plane is like good versus evil. But yeah, ultimately, you know, like, how do we not know that we're dreaming? And that is a lot of why I wanted to reach out to you, Payday, because I didn't hear an awful lot of music. I was seeking and waiting to hear from you, because a lot of conscious artists, like Mr. Traumatic, Illuminati Congo, and the rest who are associated with thought criminal music and conscious rapper community, etc. A lot of people that talk about what you're talking about, Payday, about conspiracy theories and things, they also talk about psychedelics. I didn't know that you spoke on weed so extensively, or marijuana, until Alyssa Monsanto sent me a lot of music by you, which I have uploaded on my SoundCloud now, temporarily at least. Again, let me know how you feel about me uploading your music. I want you to get all of the money, etc. And I think potentially I could maybe be able to help you a bit. I would love to call and understand your situation a bit deeper, because I think I was saying something earlier about the nature of you're somewhat going through what they call being a starving artist, where potentially you're struggling to get the money you deserve for the art that you've created. A lot of it could be because your music is so dispersed through my channel, Alyssa's channel, other channels, due to censorship, partly, I imagine. where your content is so dispersed that perhaps you're not getting paid as much as you could. And I think I have a good intelligence and intuition with technology, so get in contact with me, and maybe me, you, and Alyssa can work together on some kind of holistic revival project just to solidify your music a bit more. Because what I mean by solidify is that, like I said about your music with marijuana and weed, I can't find those anywhere. A lot of the songs that Alyssa Monsanto has sent me are absolutely exclusive. I'm pretty sure, like to the point where you literally cannot find half of your music, Payday. I don't know where it is. I'm not sure. But a lot of it is hard to find. It doesn't seem to be on the internet, a lot of it. So a lot of your music seems to be exclusive to my YouTube channel now, which I'm going to update the quality of the audio soon. However, everything that I have uploaded of yours on my SoundCloud is top quality, assuming that the file that Alyssa has sent me is top quality and that wasn't screen recorded or something. Right, sorry if I'm being like super like schizophrenic and ADHD and I'm not like wrapping up my points. Right, so the email that I left that comment on Payday's video, and I said a part of it is I'd love to talk to you in general. I think I have some information that could help you. Some special plants that enhance sensory perception, heal, enlighten, and much more. They are used by indigenous tribes since the beginning of time for spiritual practice. Trust me, man, I think we should talk a bit. How can I contact you? I fell in love with your whole thing here recently. I have my own truth-seeking content and podcast and would love to get you on there maybe if you wanted. Time will tell. Take care. You saved my life with this rare awakening information. You have actually, to be honest, Payday. I'll tell you what, before I found your music, get this, you have saved my life in terms of, look at this. So I was in the can, right? Soon you'll all be in the can. Soon you'll all be in the can. Why do you fail to see the plan? Even a child can understand. Anyway, this was before I found you. So I didn't know about you 2 weeks ago, right? So when I was working in the can, which is a warehouse of wage slavery, which is what I was born into. Most of us were born on a whim in a toxic culture. We got sent into a fake education system and then injected with poison. That goes for Inspector Veg as well, a good friend of mine. He relates to that. He was born into a toxic house and he was fucked for ages, and eventually he his trauma has become part of his life purpose, and he has turned into a rapper and artist who promotes health and bun down Babylon. So I had a very sufferable day while I was at work. I was at my wage slave job working in a warehouse with this gun that's connected to the internet in my hand, which potentially isn't healthy. The more time I spend in this warehouse, the more my hands swell up. Every time I have a break from work, my hands are fine. When I go back to work, my hands swell. While I'm at work, I'm forced to listen to their music. Don't get me started on how low consciousness the radio is, even though that's my mind judging it, but I'm forced into the metal can, and I'm forced to listen to their music. Anyway, this day, it felt like, for some reason, sometimes I have decent days at work, or at my job, but this day in particular, for some reason, it felt like my soul was literally getting extracted from my fucking body. Like, it's like I'd constantly just stop and just like peer into the abyss, and it was like painful. But the thing is, I was blaming myself for it. I'm sure to an extent that I was responsible for what was happening to me, due to lack of mindfulness and connecting the breath and being more meditative and grateful. However, when my consciousness is trapped into using an artificial program, and I'm in this warehouse of toxic frequencies, toxic music, and flunkies, as you call them. You can't explain thermonuclear dynamics to monkeys, toddlers and flunkies. What was it? Trying to explain sobriety to a culture that's bent on being junkies. That's not how it went exactly, but yeah, everyone in this culture is a junkie or a flunky or whatever you call them, and I don't mean to be arrogant, but it's like literally, yeah, it's like The Walking Dead. I don't need to tell you, Payday, you already know. But basically, the reason that you saved my life recently is because I was under the illusion that this culture was more normal than it was. That therefore I was blaming myself for my suffering while I was in the can. However, when I found your music, I realised that to an extent I am a victim, because so I know to stay away, the game is fixed, you gotta be insane to play. Where I realised that, like, I was born into this machine. And it's clearly shown that your problems aren't resolvable. Your theory has been blown into tiny little particles. So yeah, basically I found your music after this. So yeah, it's Extreme Mental Suffering Report. Unbearable sinking feeling of helpless dread. And I was blaming myself for it, yeah, for a while. But when I found your music, it enlightened me to the fact that, you know, it's not simply that I just need to have better habits and I need to get better on my personal development. It's that also we are literally in like an extermination tank because the planet was robbed decades ago and something devastating has happened in our history that no one seems to know now. And the brainwashing is so deep. Like, I never resonated with the education system. And I used to blame myself because then I ended up in a shit job. But actually, to an extent, I'm happy I didn't, because the education system is what is brainwashing people. What was it? See, that's one of the clips I uploaded as well. Sorry if I'm taking ages, but I'll get more into the more solid detail. I love this one. With the prisons they're building, you think it's great. Just like with the clown, a school for your children. Red brick houses all around. Little red brick houses all around. When I first heard that, that literally killed me, man. Like, I swear down, you gotta be one of the best artists. The way that you, like, you communicated without even speaking, kind of, like, just through those dopey sounds. But, like, the thing is, those people who think school is great, they won't get it. Like, my sister, for example, yesterday called these plane lines. I said, I won't get into it too deeply. And she was like, what? They're just plane lines. But yeah, I'm sorry if I've been too sporadic and hard to follow. But yeah, basically, I was already awake to the fact that this culture was corrupt, but, like, sometimes I can forget, and sometimes I can remember more. Sometimes I'm, basically, instead of just, like, suffering and not knowing why I was suffering while I was at work, now, whenever I get that feeling, I interpret it from a more gang stalker paradigm, or targeted individual paradigm, where I'm not just blaming myself for having a lack of awareness. It's that I'm actually up against the biggest fight ever because I'm literally in an extermination tank, because they're trying to kill everyone with poisonous fake medication. Fake food and fake medicine, fake education, that's just evil. They covered the earth with concrete, enslaved us with money, and they're gonna save us with a needle? See, I'm exempt till the end. But yeah, so like whenever I get that kind of feeling of my soul being extracted, I fight it, because thanks to you, Payday, I discovered a rabbit hole of conspiracy type content, which I'm not taking on blind faith. I use beliefs and ideas in a utilitarian manner where, like, I don't inherently believe that I'm being gang stalked or that I'm a targeted individual. Although to an extent it wouldn't surprise me, because I've been on YouTube for 2 years now talking about magic mushrooms that opened my third eye and made me realise that I was a wage slave, which I'll tell you about in a second, which is very crucial. I did email it to you briefly. But yeah, I'll say that now actually. So yeah, moving on from the wage slave suicide trip. Well, it wasn't, sorry, not suicide trip. Well, kind of, like, it was just like hell on earth while I was in this warehouse. Basically, yeah, when I was 17 years old, I was fairly content with my existence. I took 4 grams of mushrooms, I laid down in the dark, and I literally downloaded a vision in hyperspace that I'm trapped in a fucking grid of poison. Like, I didn't know really before. It was my first YouTube video. I picked up my camera and I was like, guys, but that's why that's a lot of what I want to talk to you about is the email here. The main reason I reached out to you is because I know that you speak a bit about weed. I haven't found you speaking too extensively about ayahuasca, or Wasca, and psychedelic enlightenment in general. So I directed you these 2 songs by Mr. Traumatic about psychedelics that you haven't got back to me on this email just yet. And then one about Stratospheric Aerosol injection, just so that you resonate with him more. It's not exclusively psychedelic. You see, that's what I mean. People talking about the same stuff that you talk about also talk about psychedelics. They're made by the same person. So that's why I emailed you here. I'll read what I said here. One of the main reasons I reach out is, please be open-minded, but do you know about psychedelics? You may have many assumptions when I say this, but please, to save me explaining, it will be much easier if you listen. Sorry, I've lost it. Hold on. Be easier if you listen to this conscious artist that saved my life, called Mr. Traumatic. I have a video, by the way, called How Mr. Traumatic Saved My Life. I was on the bus going to school in central Babylon, getting fake injections, etc., and fake education, while the school system was indoctrinating me and everyone with the materialist paradigm and fake science, etc. So yeah, and then when I was on the bus going to school, I randomly stumbled upon this artist, Mr. Traumatic, who actually, he made like Matrix music in order to attract Matrix people to his account, which is exactly what he done with me. So then I found his account, I looked deeper into his music, and that is when I found music like this that absolutely blew my mind and ticked off every intuitional like, it checked off like this bullet point that was in my mind subconsciously the whole time. Like, I knew that everything was bullshit from, like, subconsciously, but I couldn't really articulate it. It was just like an intuition. Like, I never resonated with the school system. Any system they tried to put me in, I can't last in it. But yeah, I found his music on the way to school, and I was like, oh my god. And I fell in love with it instantly. And the first song I found, he just started it with, every single thing you know is a lie. History is his story, it isn't mine. I'm not an atheist, I'm not religious, I'm searching for the truth and information with my inner eye, because everything you need to know is within your mind. I'm accessing knowledge of the forbidden kind. I'll tell you flat out now, the planet isn't right, you need to think and use a dome. The evidence is in the sky. The evidence is in plain sight. It's everywhere, but their eyes are wide shut, they never stare. Anyway, sorry, that was a rant. I'll send you a few of his raps. I think it could completely shift your paradigm if you investigate the links below. Regardless, I'm totally with you, man. well done for being such a sacrifice for the truth for the masses. But yeah, that's it. Is the main reason I reached out to Payday is because I want to make sure that you are aware of the potential of magic mushrooms. Be careful, because the thing is, get this, Payday. I took 7 grams of mushrooms one day. I was laying outside by the lake in the sun, smoking some high quality weed with no tobacco. I'm very much on the health as well, which I recommend you also. I imagine you understand that intuitively, but I think I did see a video of you smoking a cigarette, which is a red flag to me, kind of, but I don't blame you to an extent, trying to numb the pain of being a targeted individual, potentially. But, you know, does it really matter in the biggest picture? Maybe not. But look, regardless of that, so yeah, I was laying down by the lake on 7 grams of magic mushrooms, dried Liberty Cap magic mushrooms, which is an outrageous dose. And I promise you, if you take 7 grams of magic mushrooms, especially if you do it in silent darkness, you will literally have a lucid dream that you can swim through in real time. You will relive memories that you forgot that existed. And they enhance sensory perception, which could help you with this sensory deprivation operation you seem to be up against, which I resonate with. I resonate with everything you say, for the most part. I'm still not super educated on all of it, but I'm sure I'll get there. But anyway, when I was laying down on this high dose of mushrooms, I can't describe it to you, but I locked eyes with the sun. It wasn't out full blast, it was behind some clouds. And I literally became one with, like, the sun, and my whole head became like the earth, and I was like... I can't explain it. And then, long story short, I basically met a fucking reptilian, or so I thought. I seemed to perceive. There's many nuances to it, but this is why I'm telling you this. It's because, you know, the They Live goggles, the They Live glasses, where they put on the glasses and then he meets an android when he's wearing these, like, extrasensory perception glasses. He realizes that the so-called human that he's looking at is actually an android, right? When I was on this outrageous dose of mushrooms, I saw a girl. She was not a girl. She was a fucking android, and she knew that I could see her. She was incredibly distressed and glitching. Like, she was on her phone and she looked red as fuck. She looked like the fucking marionette from Five Nights at Freddy's, like. And I left, and then I had, like, some crazy synchronicity download again, and then I ran back, and I was like, is she still here? And I thought I better fucking go, because I was just so off my head on mushrooms that I just didn't really know. But that's why I tell you this, is because you're already in the midst of this craziness, and to an extent, I want to make sure you're okay, Payday, in terms of, I'm sure you're right on the relative plane. Remember the distinction I made earlier. Check out a video by Leo Gura, also known as actualize.org, who I think to an extent is controlled opposition, so be careful. He has a very important video that I would like you to see, Payday Monsanto, and that video is called Relative versus Absolute Truth, which is what I was talking about earlier. But basically, the thing is, I can entertain everything that you're talking about, Payday. But there seems, for me, to be a higher level. And a lot of because I come from a more spiritual background of deep psychedelia, and mushrooms, and enlightenment, and breath work, and meditation, and practices of similar nature, and researching alternative cultures and indigenous tribes, and esoteric knowledge and scriptures from the beginning of time, which I would hope, and I'm sure that you resonate with to an extent. I'm running out of storage, so I'll have to wrap it up shortly. But so I think the psychedelics could potentially help you in terms of, yes, everything that you're saying is likely true. You've clearly done a lot of research, and you're clearly next level in a lot of ways. If you're not savage, you're average. But what I'm trying to get you to grasp potentially with the psychedelics is not only can they enhance sensory perception, but it's actually, I don't know how deep you've gone into spiritual awakening, or if you're open to that, for lack of a better term, but I think potentially that could be a next step for you, Payday. You clearly have intellectual integrity as it is, and I resonate with you heavily. You are clearly relentless in the pursuit of truth. You have been, clearly, in the relative plane. However, when it comes to seeking truth, not just what's happening between people and pointing at the world, but if you're so interested in truth, Payday, then what about truth in terms of consciousness? Your song, At the End of the Day, resonates with me a lot, and I actually found that's the closest that I've found your music touching the absolute. I'll play a little bit of it here. So for those who aren't aware, listen to these lyrics here at the beginning of Payday's Monsanto, At the End of the Day, because this is important, because he is now talking more absolute rather than relative, I believe. So listen to this intro especially.
This goes out to everyone, and I do mean everyone. Even John McCain, with that monster in his brain. Even though he helped create this cold, cruel world, everyone needs love, every boy and girl. If I could turn back the hands of time and do it all once again, I'd control this mouth of mine, and I would be a much gentler man. I hope you're free in your paradise and living by your own accord. Now I see just how they slice. Words cut just like a sword. Whatever they say, I pray you are safe as I gaze at the bright stars above. And every day, just know that I'm wishing you nothing but freedom and love. Let them say whatever it is, they would teach you the same. But at the end of the day,
There ain't no way they can take it away. You see how much happiness you brought us, Payday. Someone commented that song brought tears to their eyes, and it actually almost did for me as well. But another lyric that I want to get. There we go. Listen. I know you've been told how it goes, as below, so above. Payday said that himself. That is the yin and yang. That is as above, so below. That is sacred geometry, and guess what? You confront sacred geometry on psychedelics. So I know that it's in you, Payday, a potential for spiritual awakening. I don't know how deep you've gone with that, but that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, all of this pointing at the world and conspiratorial, it's all good, but at the end of the day, who are you? Are you Payday Monsanto? I don't know what your real name is. Michael, is it? Who are you really? Because whatever you bring to mind is an idea. I'm Michael. I'm Payday. That is in the cognitive realm. Who are you really? The video is about to die because I'm running out of storage. I would say that you are God. God is infinite consciousness. God is infinity. Everything creates everything else. As above, so below. Yin and yang. Infinity is love, is God, is infinite consciousness, is an infinite dream. You are God cosplaying as Payday Monsanto. And if Babylon and the Matrix didn't exist, you couldn't have rapped about overcoming the Matrix, and then therefore you couldn't have loads of people fall in love with your music. I'm running out of storage now. I love you, Payday. Get in contact with me. Email